The first item on our agenda is approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, additions, or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the verification of the township bills. In the town fund, the amount of $28,419.93. And in the general assistance fund, the amount of $27,646.36. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Carol, anything special we should know about this month? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Carol, any reports of officers?
No.
Officers, any petitions or communications from members of the public for the town board? From town board members? Well, and we'll go on to new business. Since there's no old business, we have one item that's an agreement concerning the disposition and use of town of Cunningham funds through the daycare program for fiscal year 2003-2004. So with the Bradley Street Daycare Center, Champaign-Urbana Community Daycare School, Champaign County Nursing Home Child Care Center, First United Methodist Church Child Care Center, Happy House Learning Center, and Maryland Queller Child Care Center. Carol?
These are the 6 daycares that responded to the applications that were sent out based on the revised program rules. So I'm recommending that we go ahead and contract with these for the fiscal year, and then we'll be looking at any changes that we may want to make to the daycare program probably in the spring.
Thank you. I've got two questions, and they're sort of related. I was looking at the information about Happy House, which is one of the new ones, and their full-time child care is $143 per week per child. Now, would a low-income family pay a reduced amount, or does Happy House still get the $143 per week, but Title 20 funds or some other government funding source subsidized it?
I think all of these daycare facilities have, well, they're serving people qualifying for the Department of Human Service subsidy, which I think is standard for all of them. Now, that's something I didn't really look into, but I think it's, the families would not be paying more at one daycare than they would a different one, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. All right, but you believe it's a set copay, that the DHS pays most of it, and there's some set
Correct.
copay that the family.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And Champaign County Nursing Home Child Care Center, does that serve anyone besides Champaign County employees?
That I don't know either. They must, because they're on the list of the facilities from the Child Care Resource Center. I'm assuming it's open to anyone who wants to try and go there.
But in all cases, all of these are child care facilities that do receive some type of, that have children whose weekly care fee is paid in part by Department of Human Services because of the family's low income, right?
Correct.
That's
Correct. Yeah. The list that I received from the Child Care Resource Service was only facilities that offered subsidies to families. I didn't, so I didn't send the application information to any of the others. The request was specific to those facilities.
And they're all going to have to report quarterly on the total number of children.
Correct.
And that's how you'll determine how to divide up the $10,000.
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Hayes? You have some questions?
The fact that we have 2 more daycare centers, did that increase the number of kids? And if so, Will it have a effect on the $10,000?
Well, the $10,000 won't change. It could change, the amount of money that may go to a particular facility because it's a fixed number, and whoever serves the most low-income Urbana families are going to get more of that pot. So there's more participants, I guess you would say. And in the past, there were only 4 daycares that serve Title 20 eligible families, and now since Title 20 has become this DHS subsidy, it's just so many more facilities offer that, and I didn't see any way not to open it up to the whole pool of facilities as far as applicants go. And that's what we need to look at for next year, I think.
Any other questions? Questions, a motion would be in order.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And with that, this meeting stands adjourned, and we'll be meeting as the Urbana City Council at 7:30.
Ms. Chenoweth, Mr. Hayes,
Present.
Ms. Huth. Here. Mr. Otto,
Here.
Ms. Pat,
Present.
Mr. Whalen, Ms. Wyman, Mayor Satterthwaite.
Here. Let's see, first on our agenda this evening is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. That'd be for the September 2nd meeting.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion, additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Additions to the agenda tonight, actually, I'll propose a deletion from the agenda tonight, which would be the last item on the agenda, number 6 under new business, closed session on collective bargaining. And since we lack a few council members tonight, we thought it'd be best to do this next week as opposed to this week. Any objection in moving that? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take that off. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda this evening? All right. We'll move on to petitions and communications. If there's anybody in the audience tonight that would like to speak to the council for a period of no more than 5 minutes, if you'll fill out one of the cards at the back of the room and bring it up to myself or the clerk, you'll have a chance to do so. Anybody want to take a chance? All right. Council members? Okay, well, we'll move into business then. We've got one item of old business, and this is an ordinance approving an agreement for promotion and marketing services with the UBA, the Urbana Business Association, a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation. And this was on our agenda a couple of months ago. Mr. Walden, do you want to present the nuts and bolts?
Oh, sure. We've actually had this on the agenda a couple of times. What I provided to you in the packet is what I believe to be the most recent draft of the agreement. Point out a couple of things relative to the agreement. One is that there is a section at the very end, number 9, called performance benchmarks, which basically are asking that the UBA staff during the term of this contract develop some performance benchmarks related to activities that they undertake, so that there's a method in which to determine the effectiveness of funded programs. Also, you will note that this draft, this most recent draft, has the total payments of $50,000. Now, you can go ahead and approve the contract for $50,000. The problem is that the budget that we approved has $45,000. If you, all of these are up to numbers. So at the present time, you can approve it for 50, but I can only authorize 45 because that's what's in the budget. If you want to make this 50 and pay it pursuant to these terms of this agreement, you'll need to do a budget amendment at some point between now and the end of this contract, or now and the time they want to spend the last $5,000. So while it's okay to approve the contract, you can either approve it with this and do the budget amendment, or you can change it back to the original 45. My understanding is there's been some discussion that the larger number was acceptable to a number of the council members. That's my information, and I'm operating on that at this time. I would also note to you that the first $15,000 of this contract has been paid by council motion we did a month ago or so. And with that, I'll answer any questions. The contract is structured generally as the previous contract, which is a contract for services rather than just a payment. It's a contract for services. The services related in the contract are services contained within the contract are primarily related to the Urbana Parade of Homes, the Sweet Corn Festival, and other downtown events.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Pat?
Last year, was the full contract amount expended by UBA?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we...
Before the end of the year.
Pardon?
Before the end of the year, yes.
So if we were to approve this, excuse me, we could reasonably expect that it would be $50,000 and we would need a budget amendment?
I would like to have some indication if that's your intent to go forward with that. I mean, I couldn't release the last $5,000 of this contract without
Right.
a budget amendment.
Yes, Mr. Hayes?
Wouldn't it be just as easy to pass the 45,000 like we said earlier, and then if they needed the extra $5,000, do the budget amendment at that time?
Your pleasure, sir.
That's a possible way of doing it. Any other discussion or questions?
I move that we approve the agreement for promotion for the amount of $45,000 as originally planned in the budget.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Or a second, motion and a second. Any discussion, Mr. Otto?
I'm just curious, how did we end up with 50,000 in the contract if 45,000 was what budgeted at?
That's a good question. There was several meetings with the UBA and Paul Tapman and other council members that suggested that with the change in personnel and some other activities that they were undertaking, that there was pulled before to request more money, but never did really take place. So you have the most recent version, change it back to 45, and then do a budget amendment for the rest of it.
If they need it, okay.
The motion before you would be this agreement, but changing the $50,000 to $45,000. I don't think any other change has to be made. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Huth?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yes.
Ms. Pat?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
That motion carries with 5 ayes. Okay, we'll go to reports of standing committees. Yes, Mr. Hayes, I think you're doing reports. Is that right?
Well, it's Ms. Wyman, but since she's absent.
Mr. Hayes. And let me just say that we do have an opportunity for an omnibus. We could do, my understanding, all of the items as omnibus, but if you want to break it down, at least those
7.
first 7. For A 1 through 7. Certainly.
Committee of the Whole. Ordinance number 2003-09-095. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana Community Development Block Grant Program. This agreement with Provena Behavioral Health at the Mental Health Center. Project number 0304-01. Item 2. Ordinance number 2003-09-096. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana Community Block Grant Program Agreement for Provena Behavioral Health at the Mental Health Center and the Time Center. Project number 0304-02. 3. Ordinance number 2003-09-097. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana and Cunningham Township Consolidated Social Service Funding Program. Public Service Agreement for Community Development Block Grant Program. Development Services Center Vocational Services, Eastern Illinois Food Bank. Project number 0304-03. Number 4, ordinance number 2003-09-098. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana and Cunningham Township Consolidated Social Service Funding Program, Public Service Agreement for Community Block Grant Program, Urbana Behavior House Services, a Roundhouse Shelter. 5, ordinance number 2003-09-099. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana and Cunningham Township Consolidated Social Service Funding Program, Public Service Agreement for Community Development Block Grant Program, the Don Moyer Boys and Girls Club at Lakeside Terrace, project number 0304-05. Item 6, ordinance number 2003-09-100. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana Community Development Block Grant Program Agreement, the Disabled Citizens Foundation, project number 0304-06. Number 7, ordinance number 2003-09-101. An ordinance approving a City of Urbana Community Development Block Grant Program Agreement with United Citizens and Neighbors, project number 0304-07. Include the other two in there too?
No, might as well, let's just stop there for right now.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion of those 7 ordinances in omnibus fashion, a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hayes,
Yes?
Ms. Huth,
Yes.
Mr. Otto,
Yes.
Ms. Pat,
Yes.
Mr. Whalen,
Yes.
Ms. Wyman.
Yes.
That motion carries with 5 ayes.